fans, this could be the moment Arsenal's summer transfer window takes another unbelievable turn. Arsenal are pushing hard for Julián Álvarez, and the latest developments have created a massive opening for Mikel Arteta. Reports indicate that Atlético Madrid are prepared to accept a package worth around €135 million, €125 million guaranteed plus €10 million in add-ons. But there is one enormous problem standing between Arsenal and one of the biggest signings in the club's history, Julián Álvarez himself. And that is exactly why this story is so fascinating. Arsenal have been chasing Álvarez because Arteta sees the Argentine as the kind of elite attacker who can transform the Gunners' front line. He can operate as a centre-forward, drop into midfield, combine with attacking players and create opportunities for himself and his teammates. His numbers at Atlético have already shown his quality, with the Argentine producing 49 goals and 17 assists in 107 appearances since joining from Manchester City. But now, Arsenal are reportedly facing a very unusual situation. The club can potentially reach an agreement with Atlético Madrid, but convincing Álvarez to actually choose North London is the final piece of the puzzle. And Gunners fans, this is where the story becomes absolutely explosive. Álvarez has been involved in a transfer saga for weeks. His preferred destination has been Barcelona, with the Argentine previously making his desire to join the Catalan giants clear. Atlético, however, have taken an extremely firm position. They do not want to sell him to Barcelona. Recent reporting says Atlético have effectively closed the door on a move to their La Liga rivals, creating an opportunity for Arsenal. That is potentially the biggest advantage Arsenal have right now. Think about it. Barcelona may be Álvarez's dream destination, but Atlético are refusing to make that deal happen. Arsenal, meanwhile, are prepared to make the kind of financial commitment that could satisfy Atlético. Sky Sports has reported that Arsenal could become the realistic route out for Álvarez if Atlético continue refusing to negotiate with Barcelona. And that is why Arsenal cannot afford to walk away. The Gunners have already shown that they are serious about the Argentine. Reports indicate Arsenal are prepared to spend more than €100 million to bring him to the Emirates, while other reports have described Arsenal as ready to make a major late window push if Álvarez gives them encouragement. Now imagine what this could mean for Mikel Arteta. Imagine having Julián Álvarez leading the Arsenal attack. Imagine Álvarez receiving the ball between the lines, combining with Bukayo Saka, Martin Ødegaard and the rest of Arsenal's attacking players, pressing from the front and constantly moving defenders out of position. This would not simply be another squad addition. This would be a statement. Arsenal are already coming off a hugely ambitious summer, and adding a world-class Argentine forward could take the Gunners to another level as they look to defend their Premier League title and compete deep into Europe. But there is a reason Arsenal fans should remain cautious. The deal is not complete yet. Even if Atlético are willing to accept €125 million plus €10 million in bonuses, Arsenal still need Álvarez to say yes, and that is the most important part of this entire story. Recent reports have painted a complicated picture. Álvarez has wanted Barcelona, while Arsenal are trying to convince him that London and Mikel Arteta's project are the right next step for his career. At the same time, Atlético are becoming increasingly desperate for a resolution, with reports saying the club wants the situation settled before the transfer window closes. The pressure is therefore enormous. Atlético want clarity, Arsenal want Álvarez, Barcelona still want Álvarez, and Álvarez has to decide what he wants next. There is also another fascinating development. Atlético reportedly prefers selling outside Spain rather than strengthening Barcelona. That could make Arsenal the most realistic destination if the Argentine finally accepts that his dream Barcelona move is not going to happen this summer, and this is where Arteta could become absolutely crucial. The Arsenal manager has already built a reputation for personally convincing players to join his project. If Arsenal have genuinely reached the financial stage of this negotiation, the next mission could be entirely about the player. Arteta has to sell the dream. He has to convince Álvarez that Arsenal is not a second choice. He has to show him that North London can offer everything he is looking for: trophies, Champions League football, a world-class squad, an elite manager, and a central role in one of Europe's most ambitious projects. Because if Álvarez changes his mind, Arsenal could suddenly have the opportunity to pull off one of the biggest transfers of the entire summer. And there is another reason this saga has become so intense. Álvarez's relationship with Atlético supporters has become increasingly difficult amid the transfer uncertainty. He was booed by sections of the Atlético crowd, while the situation around his future has created serious tension between the player, his representatives, and the Spanish club. So from Arsenal's perspective, timing could be everything. The longer this situation continues, the more pressure Atlético face to find a solution, and Arsenal are waiting. The Gunners have the money. They have the ambition. They have the project. and they may now have an opening that simply did not exist a few weeks ago. But Arsenal fans, there is one message that needs to be repeated. 135 million euros does not mean deal done. The agreement with Atletico may be the biggest step, but the player's decision is still absolutely crucial. That is why the next conversation between Arsenal and the Álvarez camp could be one of the most important moments of the entire transfer window. If Arsenal can convince Julián Álvarez to choose the Emirates, this could go from transfer saga to blockbuster signing incredibly quickly. And imagine the headline, Julián Álvarez to Arsenal, a World Cup winner, a former Manchester City star, an elite Argentine forward, and potentially Mikel Arteta's next superstar attacker. For Arsenal fans, this is the moment to watch extremely closely, because Atlético Madrid may be opening the door, Barcelona may be running out of options, Arsenal may be ready to pay the money. And now, everything could come down to one question. Can Mikel Arteta convince Julián Álvarez to choose Arsenal? If the answer is yes, Gunners fans could be witnessing one of the biggest Arsenal transfers of the modern era. The 135 million euro package could be ready. The negotiations could be entering their final stage, but the final green light has to come from Julián Álvarez. And if Arsenal get that green light, North London could be welcoming one of the most exciting forwards in world football. Another solution ready to go. That is where Osimhen becomes extremely important. Interestingly, the Osimhen situation has already become connected to Arsenal's wider transfer activity. Arsenal have reportedly discussed Osimhen with Galatasaray during conversations that also involve Arsenal players Gabriel Martinelli and Ethan Nwaneri. So there could potentially be multiple layers to the negotiations. For Arsenal supporters, the biggest question now is simple. Who will Arteta get? Will it be Julián Álvarez, the technically brilliant Argentine forward who appears to be Arsenal's preferred target? Or will Arsenal make the blockbuster move for Victor Osimhen and bring one of the most physically dominant strikers in European football to the Emirates? At this stage, Álvarez appears to be ahead. The latest reports continue to put Arsenal in the race, while Barcelona's pursuit has also faced difficulties, potentially giving the Gunners more room to maneuver. But Arsenal supporters should remain cautious with the word confirmed. There is a difference between Arsenal actively pursuing a player, the player being interested in a move, and a completed agreement between the clubs. As of today, there is no official announcement confirming that Álvarez has agreed to join Arsenal or that Atlético Madrid have accepted an Arsenal bid. What we can say is that the pressure is increasing. Arsenal want a striker, Álvarez remains the preferred target. Osimhen is being discussed as the alternative, and Mikel Arteta appears determined to make sure the Gunners do not finish the window without adding another elite attacking option. Imagine the possibilities. Julián Álvarez leading the line at the Emirates, combining with Bukayo Saka, Martin Ødegaard and Arsenal's creative players. Or Victor Osimhen attacking crosses, running behind Premier League defenders and bringing the kind of explosive physical presence that can completely change the way Arsenal attack. Either signing would send a huge message. And that is ultimately what this transfer race is about. Arsenal have already shown that they are prepared to spend heavily to build a squad capable of competing for the biggest trophies. Now, Arteta wants the final attacking piece that can take this team to another level. The message coming out of the transfer operation is therefore becoming increasingly clear. Julián Álvarez first. Victor Osimhen if Álvarez cannot be done. One of these two superstars could become Arsenal's next major attacking signing, and if the latest reports about Arteta's direct approach to Álvarez prove accurate, the Arsenal manager may now be taking matters personally. The question is no longer whether Arsenal want an elite striker. They clearly do. The question is, which superstar will be wearing the red and white when the transfer window closes? Álvarez or Osimhen? Arsenal fans may not have to wait much longer for the answer.